want to shout out my boy Chris Klink from Born to Lose Generation Exit. He sent me a copy of Give Him Enough Rope on vinyl as like a congratulatory gift.
It's a great record. He's probably waiting for you to like them too. He's like, you finally came around.
Sort of, dude. Sort of, yeah. But like Chris is What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. I got the homie Nitty with me today, and this is like a weekly, bi-weekly thing, 3 times a month basically is what we're doing. And I just discovered that I like The Clash by accident. And yeah, man, are they still the most important band in the world? Are they still the only band that matters? Or so the headline went. I got a lot of talking points here, but it's so strange how this happened. I swore I would never be a fan of the band. I was never like an avid hater of them unless somebody just kept poking me about it. But I more or less accepted that they're a giant influence on a bunch of bands I love. I just didn't understand to what degree because I had never heard like the 2 albums that would have put me in the right perspective. And so when I heard Give Him Enough Rope, I literally I almost fell out of my chair. I was embarrassed. I was blown away. I was like simultaneously happy and angry by it. Like it was a very much a smorgasbord of like different emotions. Ultimately, very, very happy. I want to shout out my boy Chris Klink from Born to Lose Generation Exit. He sent me a copy of Give Him Enough Rope on vinyl as like a congratulatory gift.
It's a great record. He's probably waiting for you to like them too. He's like, you finally came around.
Sort of, dude. Sort of, yeah. But like Chris is one of my best friends, man. I love that man with everything I got in my body. He's such a sweet person. And I got a little gift for him too. I can't wait to go see him in Austin soon. But yeah, so yeah. What's up, Nitty? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's the night before election day. We're all here doing the thing. And today we're talking about The Clash. So,
yes, dude, it's the perfect band to talk about why this stuff's happening.
Yeah. The
we're also
charged for sure. Definitely.
Right. On the other podcast I'm doing, we're actually reviewing Romper Stomper. So we're literally talking like 2 ends of the spectrum.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I picked out Romper Stomper because I hadn't seen it in like 20 years, and I had forgotten just how fucking gross that movie is. Like, I thought maybe there was some like, I don't know, winning at the end of it or something, man. Like when I watched it,
I was chewing on something he's not supposed to be chewing on. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. Handle yourself.
What is that? It's fucking dog, bro. What is that? What the hell are you turning up, man? God damn it. The puppy. He just finds shit and starts chewing on it,
He's probably chewing on your MAGA hat.
Yeah, he is actually, dude. I donated so much money to the Trump Foundation for that hat.
But no, man, I just that movie really kind of grossed me out. I'll get into more detail about it with the fellas tomorrow. But like,
totally.
Yeah, man, it was an interesting flick, bro. But like, I thought it was funny how that stuff just kind of coincided with like The Clash, that movie, the point in time we're at in our country right now. I don't want to get too deep into politics outside of the music stuff because it's just a rabbit hole that can swallow up a 2-hour podcast, and we don't even want to go 2 hours. So like, it just wouldn't be a wise conversation right now.
Well, The Clash was a band that like I always knew about, and I don't think I really understood too much in their like historical significance. They're objectively an important fucking band though. Like they set the stage for a lot of shit. You know what I mean? In terms of punk, but also like I went down the Reddit rabbit hole about Clash, and Clash fans are pretty split on what they think their favorite album is. Surprisingly enough, a lot of Clash fans, their favorite album is Sandinista.
Wait, what? Who said that? Nobody said that.
I'm telling you, it's in the comments below. Please chime in on this. A lot of Clash people love that record.
If your favorite Clash album is Sandinista, I will not listen to your opinion. Just so you know. There's a reason
for that. The Clash weren't always a punk band. They changed.
Sure, that's fine.
But like even like so the Clash's early stuff, it sounds nothing like their later stuff, as we know.
That's very, very true. Because that's why I never liked them.
But that's the thing. But like there's reasons for why I think people respect and like hold in high regard their later material, because it's really experimental. It broke a lot of musical,
Yeah, I have some bullet points like on that same concept. I'm just talking shit, man. I don't like the album, but I don't care who else likes it. You can like whatever you want. I don't care.
Sandinista to me, because look, when I think of the Clash, when I think of punk, I think about like Safe European Home. I think about like Janie Jones and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like the more straight ahead kind of like punk rock and roll kind of
like their first single, dude, White Riot. I mean, that's one you would think of as a punk fan. But like you said, if you're not a punk fan but you're a Clash fan, that means you're looking at it from a whole different point of view.
100%. But even so like the like punk, the fans of the Clash's punk stuff, I think were less accepting of when they started to kind of experiment more and do different things in the late.
So punk rock, while a beautiful thing, let's not pretend like we're not like kind of what's that word? Like self-important. What's the word? When you think you're more important than you are.
Self-righteous?
No, there's a word for that. Pretentious. Pretentious. Okay. Punk rock is kind of pretentious, and we're also very much like, people say we're not, we are, where we're like tunnel vision. We go, oh no, if it doesn't fit this frame, if it doesn't go in this little box here. And so like, while we all are like that, we all also have our own little things outside the norm that we like. So as a whole, I can understand why punk rockers as a whole didn't gravitate towards their later material. I certainly didn't, and it's for the exact reason that you're talking about. Does that make it right? I don't know that right or wrong is even an answer for that. It is what it is. You can like what you like for whatever reason you want to like it. Does it make it kind of dumb? Yes. Okay. I mean, I can admit that I was being pretty dumb. I don't care. It is what it is. I'm just a person. I'm not perfect. So I'm not going to act as if I am. I personally, at this point in time, have not been able to get into Sandinista. I could barely make it through Combat Rock, dude. London Calling has grown on me a little bit, but I don't think I'm ever going to be a big fan of those two records personally. I think I'm going to stick with the first two and just really ride those out. I also kind of got into the Mescalero stuff a little bit. 101er stuff I got into a little bit. And then is it the Struts? Is that the other band that sounds kind of like the Clash? No, the Ruts. That band sounds kind of like I've been listening to them a little bit, so I'm starting to like explore this kind of music.
What's funny about that is I think on the two albums you like the most by them, there's hardly any reggae on it or ska. It's mostly like rock and roll and punk stuff.
I mean, if you want my honest opinion, I don't like much ska and reggae. If you look at it from like one for one, I probably like 25 times more punk stuff than I do ska and reggae. Now the ska and reggae stuff I really really like it.
Okay, got it.
Because there's a ton of that stuff out there that I don't really. It's not that I dislike it. I just don't. I don't. Obviously Operation Ivy, but it's like if you look at all the ska stuff I like, a lot of it is ska with a heavy dose of punk in it, and then it's either that or it's like reggae, like it's the Specials, the Agrolites, like it's just straight up ska without. I don't like a lot of third wave ska, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. But the Clash actually again, I listened to a little bit more of Sandinista today just because I was looking at the
history. I was wondering why that came up so quick.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had to bring it up. I knew I liked to give him enough rope, and I heard the whole record and I'm like, this is fucking great. But then I also kind of started reading more about the band and kind of their history.
Yeah, I watched a few things today myself. Sorry.
It's pretty complex. It's like they're like people left, people came back, they had a drummer that had addiction. They had different managers. They signed to a major label. They went platinum in America twice.
Okay. Let's pause. I want to talk about one of the things that you said, and then we'll move on to a different subject.
Yeah.
They signed to a major label. They signed to Columbia for $100,000.
CBS, right? Yeah.
Oh, was it CBS? I'm sorry. I thought
CBS Records. That's what I read at least. I mean, it might have been a different imprint in the States.
I don't know. They signed to a major. Let's just use that umbrella. They signed to a major. I thought it was Columbia. My apologies.
I could be wrong.
What does that say about them? Because punk rockers have notoriously been like, fuck a major label, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, don't you want to get the message out to as many people as 100%. You want? Like if you use the Clash as like the template for a punk band, then it's okay to play all kinds of music. It's okay to do major label stuff, it's okay to do like stadium tours. Like, why is that not okay? Is it's only okay to be a punk rocker if you're going to play house shows, never charge $1 for anything, never make $1. You don't have you self-release everything on cassette tapes because it's what you can steal. Like, what are we doing, man? Like,
it was a different industry back then, though.
Too. That's very true. That's very true. Now, I love DIY. Clearly, okay, I'm not talking shit on DIY. It's all I do.
No, like, yeah, that ethic I think is completely different. Not to cut you off, but like, I think at that time period, the Clash were from what I read and saw, they were influenced by the Sex Pistols, right?
Very much so.
I don't know shit about the Sex Pistols. I
know a little bit.
From what I know, they essentially were like a manufactured band in a lot of ways, right?
In a lot of ways, but they, yes and no.
But they weren't as, I don't think they had the political depth of the Clash necessarily.
No. Okay, here's the thing. Here that's a really good like talking point. The Sex Pistols wanted to just create chaos. The Ramones, they wanted to rebel. The Clash wanted to change the world.
Yeah, I would
say that's where you get. So when people tell you that punk rock is inherently political, no, it's not. Some of it is. Some of it is disruptive. Some of it is rebellious, and some of it is political. That's the three legs of punk rock. If you don't like that, that's fine, but you can't argue it. It's from the roots of it. It all comes from those three things. You have three pretty different sounds even. You know what I'm saying? The Clash are much more polished than the Sex Pistols were. The Ramones were more of a pop rock and roll. They just wanted to play fast and they wanted to go out and just be rebellious. The Clash wanted to have a message. They wanted to change the world. But when you get all three of those things, you get bands like Rancid, No Effects, Swingin' Utters type bands where they have a message, but they also want to be rebellious. They combine all three of those things, and that's how you get like modern punk, and modern as in like 90s and newer, I would say. It's from a combination of all three of those things. You get an amalgamation of the Clash, the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, and even like the Damned, the Stooges, all that stuff, and that's how you get bands like Rancid. Now, I don't like all of that music necessarily, but I can respect all of it. I understand it. I admit what it did. It's kind of hard to say it didn't. People get very, very up like protective over those bands, and while I don't necessarily agree all the time, I totally understand that. I mean, I'm a little more like, I don't, if you don't like what I like, I don't really care. But a lot of people, it's very important to them. It's we all protect our things the way we protect them. But
yeah,
a lot of the old heads are very gatekeepy. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I think the Clash is. This is a band that I think after tonight I really need to like listen to like their entire catalog.
It's weird, isn't it? No, it's like we're both kind of doing this right now.
Yeah, it's a band with like a very deep and layered history, and also like you can really like by kind of like learning more about the Clash, you can kind of find out more about the musical landscape of that time period too.
Well, dude, you get to find out more about like your own favorite bands if you're our age.
Yeah,
like, dude.
Sorry, this is going to be a lot of cut off each other type of conversation because we're both pretty excited about this.
No. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think we're both kind of learning at the same time, and
right,
and like finding out more about this band, and the one thing I did want to say, the last talking point I wanted to make about Sandinista specifically, and I'll say this actually. I've been looking at an article about this. They went to record a lot of this album in New York City.
Okay.
In the early 80s when hip hop was starting to come out, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then they became enamored with the hip hop culture in New York.
Right.
So there's videos of them kind of like hanging around and hanging out with people, like writing on walls and like rapping and like.
Yep. There was like a rap rock song on that album, wasn't there?
Yeah. Magnificent Seven. Excuse
me.
Oh
yeah, that does have like a rap verse in it,
it was like the Rapture before it was even made.
Damn, I never even thought about that song being the one, huh?
It's like a funky kind of upbeat song. So it's like if you think about like the early Clash stuff is being like straight ahead, aggressive, Rapture. So Blondie, I think, was influenced by that song, and then it recorded it later, a couple of years later. But they completely changed their sound and direction, which ultimately led to the band kind of going their separate ways.
Well, you adopt the behaviors of the people you're around the most. And if you're living in that area, you're hanging out in that area, you're around those people, you become those people. This is why when I lived in Third Ward, Houston for all those years, I was a very different person than I am right now. I talked different. I walked different.
Right.
I had different shit in my pockets. I was just a different person back then. If you can't adapt to your surroundings, you are going to be a target and a fucking mark. And I refuse to be either.
Usually,
I refuse to be either of those things. So I adapted, and I love that part of my life, man. I have a lot of great memories and a lot of beautiful people that I met.
Totally.
You know, and like so.
Anyway,
yeah. So okay, last thing I'll say about Sandinista before we move on to records that I really wanted to talk about and like talking points. It's stuff that I wanted to just hear your opinion on.
Sure.
I didn't do much research on that album, so I feel like I'm a little bit behind on it. But it was a triple album, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why that they made it a triple album?
I do actually. Do you know why? Or
because the label was pissed off that they did a double album with London Calling, so they did a triple album to troll their label.
I've heard a couple different reasons for it. They were a very Marxist band. You know what I'm saying? They actually. They didn't get as many royalties from making that record on purpose because they wanted to release a longer album and sell it at a lower price. So they didn't want to raise the price of the record. They wanted to sell it for like.
Sure, I'm sure part of it was that, and I'm also sure part of it was a big fuck you to their label because the label was given. I do know that like factually speaking, the label was like not. I don't know what the right word might be, like irritated by the fact that they did a double LP for London Calling.
It was
and they were just like, dude, it's a lot of work, and we're not making as much money because each unit getting sold is only going to make like $1 more, but it's costing us this much more to make it. Right. Our profit margin shrinks. It's what's the word for like it's capitalism speak, right? It's money speak, right? Shit that people like us wouldn't care about to the degree that a label head might if he was the label of Sony, head of Sony or Columbia or whatever. And right. The Clash would obviously be like, I don't give a shit. You know what? You don't like a double album? Well, here's a triple album. And at the same time, we're going to do this, and this. They're going to accomplish a bunch of things with one go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to learn more about it. I just thought it was a funny little point of context that like, they were like, all right, fuck you and your double album. We'll give you a little bit more to work with.
Triple record. I think it had like 36 songs in it.
That's so ridiculous.
They had like the different versions that it was like self-produced too. Some of it was recorded in Jamaica. Some of it was recorded in New York. Some of it was recorded in the UK.
Somebody was trying to tell me that Sandinista was basically Life Won't Wait. And I just stopped talking to him. I was like, all right, man, I don't even know if that's accurate or not, but it just irritated me to hear it. I was like, I just
but
do what?
I don't know what that means. Like
that Sandinista is like comparable to Life Won't Wait. Like they were like Sandinista and Life Won't Wait, same thing. And I was like, I don't agree with that. I think they were just saying because Sandinista is really eclectic and very long. Life Won't Wait, very eclectic and very long. Yeah. Everybody wants to take everything that Rancid did and make it exactly what the Clash did. It's just not how it is. They're just heavily influenced by them. But they have their own story. It's not the same band. But it's like, weird, bro. People just
like a lot of other things too. It's not just the Clash. Like
right.
Like I don't know.
You hear a lot of Ramones and Rancid. Now that I'm learning about like how they write, I'm like listening to songs that I've heard 150 times, and I'm going, "Damn, there's some Clash. Oh, but there's some Ramones, or there's some of this, or there's some George Thorogood. Nah, Chuck Berry. There's some Chuck Berry. There's some, this or that, whatever. Johnny Thunder,
fucking Blitz,
Foxfire, all over the place, bro. Yeah. But dude, so I little things that I heard today that I thought was kind of cool. How they got the name The Clash was because is it Simonon? Paul Simonon?
Paul Simonon? I don't know. Simonon. I've heard of him.
So old Polly boy. Paul Simonon. Yeah. I guess he was reading newspapers a lot back then. They didn't have like the internet and shit. So I guess he got a lot of his news and entertainment from a newspaper. Right. He said that the word Clash just showed up like over and over and over in all these newspaper articles he was reading and like headlines and things. And it was just a word that stuck out to him. And if you think about it, that's a really good name for a band like The Clash, who's going to do the things they're going to do, because they are going to clash with a lot of your normie types and your, buttoned up business type fellas. Now, I don't know how deep that actually goes as far as the meaning of the name, but I know that the name popped out to him is because he was reading the newspapers a lot, and that word just kept popping out to him. And I don't know, it's just like little like unimportant factoids that I really like that I think makes the band a little more fun to know about because this is stuff that when I was 17 I would have thought was really cool to learn, and I didn't. I didn't. So I'm having to do all this stuff at a much more elevated age. I think it's kind of cool that I decided to go back and learn about all these bands because I'm learning about a lot of bands right now, and I'm figuring out that I'm just doing everything backwards. Like when I was young, I was pissed off, poor. I didn't have no time to do all this shit. I didn't have time to learn about a bunch of punk bands. I was out there trying to make money to pay some bills. Like I was working at 15, man. I was paying bills at 16. So it doesn't make me special. It just makes me, blue collar, man. I just didn't have time to learn all this stuff, and I didn't want to anyways. I got what I liked, and I didn't understand the importance of like learning my history until I was like 30 years old, bro. Like I didn't care about none of this shit till I was a grown man. And there's a lot of people that went the other way. They learned it at 18. Good for them.
Same. I mean, I've always said you kind of go backwards, like you work backwards, I started listening to like Rancid, NoFX, and fucking all these bands when I was like in the 6th, 7th grade,
right.
And then got into like more punk, but like all the modern stuff, and then like underground stuff and like local stuff. But then
that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did.
I got older that I started to kind of go backwards into like the 70s and the 80s. So like it makes you appreciate the bands you like more when you know where they came from too, right? I mean,
right.
In a lot of ways, I think. But
well, a lot of people I gotta tip my cap to the punk rock community. They've been pretty cool about me trying to learn all this stuff at such an older age. But there's still a fair amount of people that are so fucking self-righteous about this shit, and I'm like, bro, do you know all the Houston bands that were around in the fucking 80s? Like, you probably don't. Like, I'm not gonna give you crap for that. Like, who gives a shit, man? Like, well, it's the Clash. I'm like, dude, I was so fucking punk rock that I didn't even give a shit about what punk rock wanted me to do. Like, I didn't care, man. Like, I'm kidding, of course, but like, I didn't understand it, bro. And like, I still don't understand how this happened, dude. Like, I'm as blown away by this as anybody else is.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
dude, what about summer of 1976, bro? The Sex Pistols, the Clash, and Buzzcocks played a show together. Yeah. Like, what the fuck, dude?
What was that? Yeah.
I'm not even a fan of Buzzcocks like that, right? But would I not want to be there, bro? Like, what? Anybody that's watching this that's mad about me saying I'm not a big fan of the Buzzcocks, I don't dislike them. I just don't know much about them. So give me a handful of songs that you fuck with, and I'll listen to them. I'll do this.
I think that you could learn to appreciate them. Honestly, I think.
I just never thought they sounded like a punk band. Oh,
I mean,
bro, what?
They're a punk band. Of course, they're a punk band.
I mean, I guess I listen to them and I don't hear punk. So I mean, that's my point. Is like I never thought of them as a punk band. They sound like a pop rock band to me. But whatever, I don't really give a shit. There's a difference between being punk and then playing punk rock though. Like those are two different things. And so okay. Here's a question for you, or I guess not a question, but a statement. You told me you thought the Clash were like the first punk band, and I just replied with Ramones. How do you feel about there being two separate conversations there? Because I think that's kind of what it is. I don't think there's one conversation there. I think it's what band was the first band to play punk rock? I think it was probably the Ramones that played that kind of music. That's all they really played. But who was the first like punk band?
Definitive.
Yeah.
Like the words punk being used in context.
Well, that isn't even really my point. My point is that the Ramones were just rebelling and playing punk rock without realizing it, and the Clash were a band of punks. So it was like you have a band that played punk rock first, boom, there, and then a couple of years later, not even that long, 18 months later, you have a band that is a punk band. They have a different ethos. They have a different set of goals, and I think that there's two different conversations. If people don't agree with that, that's crazy to me because there are two different kinds of bands. There's bands that just play punk rock music, and then there are bands that are punk rock bands or bands of punk rock people. Like Flea, he's a punk rock dude, not in a punk band. Like Red Hot Chili Peppers are not a punk band. That dude's very punk rock. Like, it's definitely something that has to be acknowledged. People that don't want to acknowledge it are just being stubborn, but that's okay. I'm stubborn too.
Yeah, Clash.
Jeez, Louise, don't do that.
I know, man. Like, it's just
you got me.
Yeah, I'm still trying to like learn more about this band and kind of how they. I will say this, like,
what's your opinion on that though? Like you didn't even comment on it really. Do you disagree?
I think what I'm trying to say is that like punk rock, I guess as
Don't
an
talk
identity.
behind your hand.
My bad. Punk,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, punk rock is like an identity. It's like identifying yourself as a punk and aligning with the ethos. I think maybe the Clash or the Sex Pistols were the first to do that. I think the Ramones unintentionally played punk rock for the first
Okay,
time.
but my whole point is that you don't have to align yourself with that to play punk rock. In my opinion, I don't agree with that.
That wasn't my argument though.
But then what were you saying?
Definitive, like to define the word, to coin the word. The Clash was the first to do it, I think.
I mean, if you want to get into semantics, sure. I don't think that really matters much because that's not the argument. The argument isn't who said the word punk and I'm going to be in. It's who played punk. Who's the first punk band? That's the argument, right? If that's the argument, then it wasn't the Clash. Now, who's the most important? It might actually be the Clash, probably. The most influential is probably the Clash. Maybe not most important. That would be.
I'll give you that. It was the Ramones, most likely. Yeah. You know.
But I mean, I also think it's a stupid ass argument because it was
whatever.
Because was there another band before the Ramones playing that kind of music somewhere that never got discovered? Probably,
yeah. I mean,
probably.
In fact, when and if we do the most important bands.
Well, I'm doing the 77 conversation. That's happening. So if you want to be a part of it, I welcome that. So
definitely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bands from like Australia at that time.
And yeah, but like
the mid to late like 70s that were doing a lot of like punk stuff.
Unfortunately,
Radio Birdman, for instance, and like
unfortunately, like
Saints.
What matters is the people that got noticed and recognized because those are the ones that became influential. You can't be influential if you're unknown, and so.
I mean, yeah, but like,
explain how you can be unknown and be influential. That doesn't even make fucking sense, dude.
Because we don't know what kind of reach those bands had at that time. We don't.
Yeah, we do. You do. Go ask 150 punk rock kids. Have you ever heard of these bands? And if like fucking 10 of them say yes, I'll be surprised. Yeah, you do.
Radio Birdman and the Saints. I'm just saying.
My only point is that like if you start digging down, you can go so deep that you're gonna go, yeah. But in 1971, this fucking band played in front of 3 people in this garage one time. They were the first punk band. They were the most influential because they were first. No, they were just some band that did something cool. Right. And like it sucks that they didn't get recognized, but they didn't. Like,
what I'm saying is that like, you know, it's the idea, it's the theory that the same thing could have happened in different places at the same time.
Yes,
that's
but it didn't.
But it did. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
No, it didn't. There's not a Clash from Australia. There's not a Ramones from Australia because those bands aren't known. The reason that the Ramones are the Ramones is because they are the fucking Ramones. And the Clash is the Clash because they're the Clash. They did the things to the degree that they did them. They got known as much as they were known. They were as big as they were. That's why they are who they are. That wasn't replicated elsewhere, or we would be talking about those bands all the time.
I'm not saying that it was replicated. I'm saying that
you literally just said that,
dude. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm saying that the Ramones in 1976 were.
Even your dog disagrees with you.
The dog does answer. What I'm saying is that in the mid 70s, there was bands playing really, really fast fucking rock and roll music in America, i.e. the Ramones, and there was bands playing really, really fast rock and roll music that sounded almost identical to that in Australia.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah, might have not even known about each other. That's my point. That's all.
Yeah. No. That okay. Then I guess we agree more than we initially thought. But like I was never arguing that happened. I was just saying that it wasn't relevant because it's only relevant when you become known, and that's the only way you become influential. And so like that stuff couldn't be on a top 10 most important albums of that year list because they just weren't that important. Now, if we're talking about the top 10 albums of that year, it doesn't have to be a known album. It doesn't have to be an important album. It can be any album because it's a top 10 list of like our favorite albums. So it just depends on what the conversation is. I like to argue if you haven't figured that out yet.
No, yeah, totally. There's another band too that I think we're kind of leaving out of this conversation. That was
Oasis.
No. You don't like them, but New York Dolls, they were pretty important.
I don't dislike the New York Dolls. I just don't like the New York Dolls. I mean, they're okay. It's not the kind of music I usually listen
Well,
to.
you know, when we're talking about important, influential bands of the 70s in terms of punk,
I would say that the New York Dolls and the
I think
Stooges are both very important.
they need to be in that conversation too. I think, you know.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at that list when I get closer to doing it. But I don't see how they could be like. I don't know. I don't really think of the New York Dolls as being like punk, more so like proto punk was just like not punk to me.
But
I don't know. It's all semantics. It's all like fucking.
You know that conversation that people have, like, did punk come from the UK or did it come from America? You know, this is a whole debate, right? It's had frequently. If you look at,
I don't understand that debate because it came from America. Like it just you can trace it right back to New York. Like I don't understand how anybody argues that. It's fucking weird, dude.
I think a lot of that argument is like based on semantics too. But
well, so not when you can like go, yeah, this happened, and then this guy went to this place, and then this guy was in the UK and saw that, and he went home to the UK and started this band, and then this guy saw that band. You can just trace it all the way back to the fucking like. I don't see how. Sure. Unless I have all the dates and facts wrong, which look,
I think that there's an element of like, you know, like that whole like 77 style of punk that happened in the UK, like the Clash, the Sex Pistols,
yeah.
Stiffle of Fingers, all those bands. So
that's a good band too, Stiffle of Fingers.
They're fucking amazing. They're one of the best punk bands. But like, I think that like, you know, without that core, like it wouldn't have been able to explode the way it did. You know what I mean? In terms of like creating all the genres of punk that we've come to appreciate, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely not arguing that. But my, you know, it's like you're saying like you make it this point, and then I go, yeah, but what about this? And then you go, yeah, but this point, and I'm like, yeah, you're not saying the same thing you were saying a minute ago, though. So like, you know, while yes, that's true, but you can trace all of that back to like 1975, early 76, New York. I don't really care because I like all the stuff in the UK probably as much or more outside of specifically the Ramones. Specifically the Ramones I really, really like. Dude, some guy in the comments was telling me that I had hated on the Ramones. I really don't remember ever doing that. So guy in the comments, if you're seeing this, bro, if you're seeing this, man, timestamp me so I can go back and see what you're talking about. Because if I said something that I didn't mean, or if I said it as a joke, or if you didn't understand what I was saying, I would love to clear that up because that took me by a fairly large surprise. I love the Ramones. I don't remember ever not liking them, so it was weird that he said that I said that I didn't. That's weird. Okay. Do what?
No, I was gonna say, was there anything else you wanted to?
Oh, bro, there's all kinds of shit we can talk about. Joe Strummer goes to jail a lot, or went to jail a lot. What's up with that shit? My man was a fucking criminal. That guy went to jail so often. What the fuck?
I don't know too much about that. Was it because
he went to jail? Like, dude, I only watched like two different documentaries or listened to two different documentaries today, and I could tell you that I heard at least 4 different times that he went to jail within like a 3-year span. It might have been more than that. So that song, "Guns on the Roof," it was written because I think it was Strummer and the bass player. Was it? I can't remember who it was. Strummer and somebody else went on the roof of this building, and there was these pigeons, and they had like an air rifle, and so they were shooting these pigeons, just being, you know, young delinquents. And it turns out that those pigeons were like somebody's pet racing pigeons.
Oh shit, that's fucked up.
Yeah, dude. And they went to jail, and they got charged with manslaughter because of that.
Oh.
Ultimately, it got dropped, of course, but that's where the song "Guns on the Roof" comes from, which I think is kind of cool. It's not cool as in like harming animals cool. It's just a funny story, all right? Well, to be clear to all those fucking angry ass people out there, I'm not saying that harming an animal is cool. It's just a
fucking pigeons, bro.
It's just a funny story.
Yeah.
The song "Complete Control" is a single put out by a label talking about how shitty the label is. I think that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
I wonder if that band from Texas got the name from that song.
Complete Control?
Yeah, that's a good band. What's up with you have another way that the Clash is like just got these like tentacles out there is you have bands like Public Image Limited, which you have John Lydon and Keith Levine in that band. You had Big Audio Dynamite. They had done work with who else? Fuck, I don't remember the other bands. One was the Gorillaz. Joe Strummer did the Mescaleros. There was the 101ers. There's so many bands that these guys were parts of that I've never really thought about. I used to not like the Mescalero stuff either. I started listening to the Street Rock, that orange covered album.
And the X-Ray style
Street Rock. I don't remember what it's called. It's got that one on Hellcat that Tim Armstrong produced or whatever. I started listening to that with my kid in the car. He was digging it, so we kind of let it play, and I was like, I don't remember liking this, but I'm older now. When I was young, I just wanted fast, pissed off 3-chord punk songs. Yeah, I'm just older now, and I like a different sound. And I used to hate his vocals, and I think I kind of like them now. I don't love them, but I kind of like them. Strummer specifically.
Yeah, of course. But they by the time 1983 came around, they pretty much were going different directions musically.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can hear that, I think, on Combat Rock.
Yes.
They were doing like pretty much like pop oriented music, How
do you feel about their so just if somebody was to ask you like on a whim, like, hey, right now, what songs do you think are better, the Clash hits or the Clash deep cuts? What do you go with on that?
I like the deep cuts.
Right.
With most bands, though, right? Like,
That's true. That's true. I think most punk rockers kind of go albums more so than singles, so we like deep cuts.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can find a song like on every Clash record. Even on Sandinista.
There's got to be a song I like on there. I'm sure. I'm not.
It's all over the fucking place. I've been talking about Sandinista a lot tonight, but I think it's such a unique record. It's fucking weird. Like, every song sounds different, and like.
Yeah, I mean, some people look at that as a positive. I personally don't really care for it much. I mean, like I said, there's probably a song or two in there I'm going to jam, but like.
It's funny, like at the very end of the record, there's a bunch of like reggae stuff.
I might get into that. Okay. What is do you have a favorite Clash song?
I don't know, man. I need to listen to their music more.
I know, but like right now, like what's the song that speaks to you the most? This isn't some fucking definitive answer that's going to last the rest of your life, man. This can change tomorrow. Like what's the song? Like it's supposed to be fun, man. Don't make it a pain in the ass.
Right now, I would say like "Safe European Home" is probably
it's a really fucking good song.
That sticks out to me. It just gets stuck in my head a lot, and I like that style of kind of like anthemic, like 3-chord.
Well, that's the first one that got me, man. That's the song that changed my mind. That is the moment that I was like, oh shit, I think I like this band. Oh no, what did I do?
The whole record is full of just bangers.
Oh, it's so good, man. Let's see, what would be my favorite one right now? The one that I'm jamming the most. It might actually be Safe European Home as well. I'm listening to Give Him Enough Rope a lot, so I would say that maybe Tommy Gunn's one that I've been listening to a lot. Bro, you're even California with how you treat your animals. It's fucking hilarious. Bro, I'd be like, Pedro, shut the fuck up, and he'd be like, oh, my bad, dude.
I already yelled at this fucking dude fucking twice.
Dude, it's Pedro's birthday today, man. He was having a great day. He had steak today. He went on like 4 walks. He's having a great day. Oh, dude, I love that dog so much, man. But yeah, probably the A side to Give Him Enough Rope is what I'm jamming the most. But I did listen to a little bit of Cut the Crap out of sheer morbid curiosity. I would actually say that's probably their worst album, worse than Sandinista by a fair amount, even.
Most people agree with you,
yeah. I gotta say, man. I don't like admitting this, but I still like their hits quite a bit. Should I Stay or Should I Go is a timeless song, dude. That song, every time it comes on, I'm like, this is a good song. That's a good song. Yeah, like that. Those are why I bought that album, and I was so disappointed because their whole album didn't sound like up tempo, catchy, like almost pop punky. It was way more
like objectively a good song though. You can play it for anybody, and it would fucking get people moving. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
it's a very catchy song. It's almost like disco-y.
It's all they're super disco-y. That's what I'm saying. Like if you listen to like later era Clash, you're like, what the fuck? This is like a different band. It's crazy.
Well, I think the guys were just musicians with a fucking message, and I think that they're
instruments. That's for sure. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, not only that, but they could write a good song. I mean, their lyrics are really important, and I say write a good song as in like lyrics and music, but like they're a great example of how a band like Rancid would shine, because they're just good musicians that happen to have a particular message and a particular way of living that they
Yeah.
want to spread, and it's like they just happen to align with punk rockers in the way that we behave typically. And like, and earlier when I was saying like you could be in a punk band and not be a punk rocker, that's not really exactly what I meant. I just mean like some punk bands play punk rock and some punk bands are punk rock, and that there is a difference there, man. You know,
I'll say this much too, like about the Clash. It's interesting. It's like I don't know how many bands before them actually were talking about politics and world events in the way that they
not
in their
not
music.
many, if any, dude.
I mean, like there was one song I had to take a screenshot of it. Actually, it was really like I'm like, wow. I read the lyrics and I was like, this is crazy. For that time period, you know, for when it came out.
Right.
White youth, black youth, you better find a solution. Why not phone up Robin Hood, ask him for some wealth?
I mean,
punk rockers in the UK, like you know, they won't notice anyway. They're all too, yeah.
well, I mean, like you have, even if you just go back to White Riot being their first song, I mean, that song was, they were at like some kind of like fairground thing, I think, and there was like an issue with the police and a bunch of black youths, and they were like in the mix, and like that's what caused them to write that song. They wanted to have like, they were basically chanting that they were going to be on the side of the disenfranchised, that they were going to be with these people, and like, you know, oh, you think it's only going to be black kids writing? Sorry, buddy, we're on their team, kind of thing. At least that's what I gathered from that song.
No,
right?
totally. That's what it was.
And I think that's important. I will say that them being the first punk band is vastly more important than a lot of people will. How do I say this? It's very important, and people need to recognize it. And I don't mean people that are 40, 50, and 60. I mean people that are like 15, 20, 25, and 30.
Yeah.
Younger people need to recognize, because I didn't. And I always understood their influence. I just never really appreciated it, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
And like, I think now I'm starting to really learn, like, oh, wow, these guys did a lot for free speech. They did a lot for,
Right.
You know, maybe I don't necessarily want to have every song I listen to be a Bad Religion track, but I mean, if I wasn't political at all, I probably wouldn't be who I am. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, I think they're you know, I think there's an element of like, you know, it gives the people that are identifying with the music something to hold on to, and like a purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that they made it, you know, I think that punk and politics have always kind of gone hand in hand, because a lot of rebellion and revolution and kind of like angst and like anger toward like social issues was like a part of the reason, part of what fueled that type of music, you know? And I think
I would say like a lot of it, yes, not all of it, but a lot of it. I would even say like most of it. There's like a 20% chunk that's just like straight up like rebellious, like just shithead music.
Sure,
but the majority of it is political.
But you know, my like the way that I started to see the world at 16 and 15, you know, was shaped by that stuff in the music I listened to.
For sure.
And that kind of like molded me in a lot of ways. So I think the Clash were pivotal and important in maybe like being one of the first bands to really like get radical thinking, you know, in music, and to get, you know, punks to like care about shit that was happening in the world and around them, and to like draw awareness to some of this.
That's a good point too, because like when you're sitting around all day not doing anything and you don't have a job, you tend to get like, you make bad choices, right? So like if you're gonna not have a job, you need to do something with yourself, and having like a good cause is a better way to spend your time than sitting around doing dope and drinking and fighting with people, right? And there's a time and a place for everything, man. If you want to be a recreational fucking shithead, go for it, man. But like making it your lifestyle is probably not the right move. Yeah. I've been there, and I can tell you that it is not. It's not worth it. It's not fun, and to give a bunch of young angry kids direction, that's dangerous, bro. That's probably why. I mean, punk rockers are always looked at as dangerous, and it's not like we're dangerous as in we're going to rob you. It's dangerous as in we can make some change happen, and they don't want that shit. They don't want us standing up and having a voice. Like that's probably the biggest, hurdle that we've got, is that they don't want us to like really start making some change, because we can. And I say that, but I'm also pretty pessimistic these days, man. I don't know that we can make a lot of change. I'm very weird about that. I flip-flop so much. I think it's just kind of my bipolar nature, kind of,
Look at Punk, dude. Punk has always been fueled by the youth. If it wasn't for young people, like, there's no reason to keep doing this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? And
there's no reason to do much of anything if it wasn't for young people, though, right?
Historically, like,
yeah,
it's the kids that feel, and honestly, in my scene, in the community around here, it's like these 16, 17-year-olds are super efficient, like organizing and getting things together, man.
Well, we were too. We're just old now.
Yeah, I know, but like, it's impressive because it's like,
yeah,
they're putting these scenes together and holding them together, man.
Dude, you know what's funny is I was thinking about that the other day. I was like driving down my street and I was at a stoplight, and I literally had a thought. I was like, am I necessary anymore? Like, does my scene need me? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, I'm a part in a different way now. I offer a different thing to my scene than I used to. I was the guy that was like starting shit with my friends and like going out and like carrying signs and doing food not bombs and taking shit to shelters and just helping people that way. And now I supply a service of, I put out records, I provide commentary, I have a record store for people, and it's a small business. And like, so I do still serve a purpose, but it was something I actually thought about, like, man, do I even belong here anymore? Like, am I angry enough still? And I was like, yeah, I think I am, because so many things piss me off still, as like an American, as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a friend to people that don't look like me necessarily. And like, there's a lot to be angry about still. And it's just like, man, I don't necessarily have the energy or time that I used to have, but I've still got the anger. And if I can do anything to support punk rock, I'm going to do it. So that's why I do all the shit that I do. I mean, it took me years and years and years of like actively trying to get to where I could do what I'm doing now. I don't think a lot of people understand what it took for me to get here and what it is that I do. Yeah. I'm still relatively new on YouTube, so people don't know me very well yet. I've only been on this channel for about a year and a half, but like, the
direct action stuff is huge. I mean, you contribute a lot. You know what I mean? This platform is an example of that. So
right, it's awesome though. I'm not gonna act like it's not fun as fuck, but like it does serve a purpose.
But I've been playing in bands since I was 16, and I'm doing it now. So it's like I kind of see, I'm the old guy at the shows now.
It's weird, isn't it?
I'm not old enough to be their dads, and like I just feel like a sense of like responsibility, you know what I mean, for these kids in a lot of ways. But they're the ones that are doing the thing, they're coming to the shows, they're playing in the bands, and they're going on these tours. And
well, I mean, that's what happens is we just get older, and the young kids doing the shit we did when we were young. We were in the bands, we played the shows, we went on tours. It's just like we're looking at it from up here now, going, "Oh shit, that's our past is happening right now for these kids." The weirdest thing happened to me recently. I don't know why I just thought about this, but I was at a show, and a younger person, probably around the age of like 17 to 20, like definitely not old enough to drink yet, was hanging out with a guy that was like my age. And then the kid goes,
"That's weird."
No, listen. So the kid goes, "Hey, Dad." It was the kid's dad.
Oh, okay.
He was like, "Dad, hey, I watched that guy's channel on YouTube."
That's funny.
And then he was like, I heard him, and he goes, "What guy?" And he goes, "The older guy over there." And he was pointing right at me, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I am old now." It was rough, bro. They were super nice though. The dad was super cool too. And he was like, "There, like,
that's fucking great."
Yeah, no, it was just like, oh man, I'm old as fuck. But
I know.
So before we get out of here, man, did the Clash, are they responsible for bringing punk rock into the mainstream?
I mean, I thought it was the Sex Pistols, man, for the longest time.
I think the Sex Pistols were like the spark, but the actual kaboom was the Clash, because they played in front of larger audiences for longer, and they had more records, and they influenced bands to a higher degree, I think, than the Sex Pistols.
That's fair.
But I would also ask, did the Clash create the template for alternative music, like alt rock, like alternative rock, alternative music?
Wow, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think
Really?
Yeah.
After all that other stuff you said, you wouldn't think so, huh?
I mean, there was other bands at the time. They weren't the only band that was making.
No, but the Clash was the first band that made it acceptable to be like a rock band that did some reggae, that did some punk, that did some ska, that had some jazz in their shit. Like, dude, like what you think of is like alternative rock, like 90s alternative rock. That template was the Clash. Like, it's weird. I never thought about it until I started listening to their older material.
Maybe.
But dude, they were the band that combined all the genres. That shit didn't really get popular until the 90s. And that's what became alternative rock, like alternative music. And I mean, it's just a silly question, but like it's interesting, right? Like bands like Sublime wouldn't exist without the Clash, because Sublime is really offspring of the Clash. Like they have all that shit in their music, and I never thought about that, like literally until this week.
Sublime, huh? Interesting.
I know, but think about it though. They're not political, but they got the same exact kind of music in their music. It's all that shit put into one.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like it's a different flavor, but it's the same.
But yeah, they use the template though. They just created the template. Now the band goes and uses the template for whatever they want to use it for, but that template was created by the Clash. And you wouldn't have bands like Sublime or artists like Beck or shit like even Gorillaz. Like this shit is all spawned from the Rancid.
I think then we in order, I would say that if that is true, which it could possibly be true, we have to look at the Clash's entire, like all their albums, like their whole.
Yeah, no, I am talking about all their. I'm specifically talking about their later material at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's stuff
because they weren't just a punk band; they were a punk band for 2 albums, and then they were a fucking experimental rock and roll band.
Yeah, they got really experimental, which is crazy. I don't think it's
wild, isn't it?
I don't think that they were accepted as much back then. You know what I mean?
Like no. They're way more popular now than they ever were in the 70s and 80s. But like literally, the reason that the first thing that I wrote and the last thing that I wrote on my notes, they're written with the same thought in mind. I wrote down the Clash. Are they still the only band that matters? And then I wrote down, did they create the template for alternative music? I would say yes for both of those. And the reason that it's yes for both of those is because the fact that they are the template for modern alternative music is why they're still the only band that matters, quote unquote. Because without those guys, most of the shit that happened in the 90s, like, dude, even bands like Bloodhound Gang wouldn't exist without the Clash. It's weird, bro. Like, once I started listening to this stuff and started reading about it, all this shit started opening up, and it drives me nuts because it just tells me how fucking wrong I've been for all these years. Wrong I was for 25 years, man.
It's funny when I look up who invented alternative music on Google, it says it was the Velvet Underground.
I mean,
it couldn't be.
I don't know how to respond to that. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't necessarily. What year did they start playing?
Like the late 60s, I think.
They were. I thought they were much earlier. I mean, I guess that makes. I guess that's
1967.
Okay, so that's not necessarily wrong, I guess, but I think that the Clash made it like acceptable to have, because the Velvet Underground definitely didn't have reggae, ska. It didn't have like black music woven throughout it. Like,
it was pretty white.
Yeah, the Clash was a very eclectic on many levels band that was not afraid to dip their toes into any kind of music that they thought they might be able to play.
There's another band that reminds me a lot of the Clash's later stuff too. The Talking Heads.
Okay.
Who actually performed in 1975. Now, if you listen to the Talking Heads, they're pretty fucking eclectic too.
I don't know much about them.
I mean, if you don't like later era Clash stuff that much, you probably won't like the Talking Heads. But
good, I don't have to go worry about messing with it then.
You know,
I will probably get there at some point. At this point, I'm not going to write off any other bands ever. Like, I'm just going to accept the fact that I don't know. Hey, do you like this band? I don't know. Hey, do you like the Damned? I don't know. Hey, you like the Drums? I don't know. Like,
you can listen to something without the intention of liking it, just to know what it sounds like, though, right?
Right. Well, people get so mad when you don't like a band that they think is important, and
I know.
it's so weird, bro. Like,
whatever, dude. It's like if you don't like it, you don't like it.
like I like the Germs, but I don't really like the Damned, and people get super pissed off. I'm like, I just don't like it, man. It doesn't mean it's not important. Like, I didn't say that they were like, well, yeah, I didn't say they weren't important. Like, it's so
the
strange.
Damned is definitely a flavor. I think their first record, when their earlier stuff was a little bit more palatable.
I can appreciate their first record and even their second one quite a bit, actually. I just don't really like. It's not something that I revisit. Whereas, like, now that I listen to this album with the Clash, I can see myself listening to that like quite often.
Yeah,
but like, we never even really discussed some of the bands that this band has influenced that we love. Before we get out of here, let's talk about that for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
Give me a handful of the bands that you really love, that now that you're listening to the Clash, that you can hear a bunch of their music influenced by the Clash without talking about Rancid, because that's the obvious pick for both of us.
Oh, One Man Army.
That's the one I was thinking that I'd never, ever thought sounded like them until this.
I mean, they're very obviously influenced by the Clash. Like,
well, specifically, Give Them Enough Rope. Like, specifically, that album has a ton of stuff on it, but that's the record that sounds the most like all the bands I love. Like U.S. Bombs, Swingin' Utters, One Man Army, like all these bands that I love. I'm like, it's really bothering me that I never got to hear that album. I missed out on like 20 years of not listening to that record. But
man's like, yeah, I mean,
every band that sounds like that, the Briggs, all that like 77 style shit, dude.
Yeah,
there is a lot of it, dude. Even like, man, yeah, there's just so much of it. They're like mid-tempo 77 style, but you can hear like the Sex Pistols and a lot of that too, though. Like those two bands mixed together, and then like a sprinkle of the Ramones, you basically get every single band that I like.
Yeah. I think for me, the best punk out of UK came out. Like I like the UK '82 stuff a little bit more than the
like the Oi shit.
Yeah, like when it got a little more hardcore,
like Coxbar type business and.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even like just early hardcore from the UK, you know?
Okay. Like what?
What's it called? Discharge.
Oh, like okay, okay.
That stuff came out around the same time at Blitz and all the other stuff. Like it was like
I always forget Discharge is that old. They don't sound that old.
Is old. They came out in the early '80s, so it's like GBH is another band, you know. Like
here's a little tidbit and a little like. I don't know, preview of what to come. One of the most important records from 1977 for punk rock is a Motorhead record. That fucking band is incredibly important. Unlike the more like
definitely
for like the Ramones side of punk rock, where it's mostly just like rebellious, fast rock and roll music, just like amped up. You have like Ramones and Motorhead, and then when you want to get political, you have like Sex Pistols to a degree, and then the Clash, and then it just kind of melds together from there. But like, yeah, man, I think this was a good conversation. I think that this newfound respect for the Clash is pretty interesting. I'm gonna do a solo top 10 Clash songs list because I don't think you want to go through that unless you want to. Because I also want to revisit it in a year and see if my opinion has changed. Because I haven't really dove into the lyrics like that yet. I want to do this first, then start going into all the lyrics, and then see if that changes my opinion in a year.
Yeah. Are you gonna listen to all the Clash records?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. I want to get like an actual top 10, like not 7 times a piece, but I want to come up with a list of. I don't want to like not include something because I didn't listen to the record. That's stupid.
You're gonna go down the line. You're gonna go from 76 to 83, huh? Right.
Yeah. So like, I already listened to the first 2 enough at this point. I've already heard London Calling enough. I may need to jump back into Combat Rock maybe one more listen through, and then I need to listen to the later things, and I'll be able to compile my list.
London Calling has some good songs in it, man.
London Calling has some okay songs. I don't really care for it that much. It's like an objectively good record. I just don't like it that much.
What's your vibe? What's your go with it? It's too.
I just don't like it. Doesn't sound like what I want to hear. It's like when that one in Combat Rock they just got ruined because I heard them and I just was like, ugh, immediately turned off. And I can't fix that, nor do I care to try. I think that's really what it boils down to. I don't care to like try to change my mind on it. If my mind changes at some point, like it did with the first 2 records, so be it. Yeah. But I'm not going to put effort into it. Although I do have a handful of songs that I like on that record. Death or Glory, Rudy Can't Fail, obviously. Hateful, Spanish Bombs is a good track.
Guns of Brixton.
No, I don't really care for that song.
Jimmy Jazz is a good one.
Again, not really for me.
Dude, it's crazy. I'm looking at the ratings on Wikipedia. It's got a perfect rating from every single 100 out of 100. 5 stars on every single fucking magazine. Like, it's their most acclaimed record.
Yeah, that doesn't matter to me.
I know, but it's just.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, I actually knew that it was their most acclaimed record. People call it like a masterpiece. I don't really get that, but whatever. I mean, it's cool. I don't understand like popular music in general, though. Like, I don't understand how people listen to Beyonce. Like, that shit's terrible. Fucking Taylor Swift, dude. Like, what? 2 out of 50 songs are pretty good. Like, that's not a good ratio. Like,
yeah, I'm not with the Swifties.
But so do you want to do a 10 records from 77 conversation so I can splice some of it into my video?
From 77 specifically.
Yeah, so like in like a week and a half, let's talk about 1977.
Okay. Is it going to be a part of the same video that we're doing today?
No, this video is done. We're going to I'm going to make a video that's going to have like imagery, and I'm going to edit the fuck out of it. It's going to be like an actual video essay, like my Cold Oi video, basically.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's going to be like a combination of like my Cold Oi and then my Clash and Rancid video. If you mix those up, it'll be about like that. It'll be some of us on screen. Some of us will be, some of it will be like imagery and stuff, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I want to take my time and do it right. So why don't we go 2 weeks from now?
Yeah.
We'll come back and we'll talk 10 albums from 1977. Like maybe let's do 5 apiece, and then if I need to adjust the list for my video, I will.
Do you want to and are these 10 of the most influential albums from 77?
Yeah, however you want to put it. It's just 1977, the year that is the most important year for punk rock. What are the 10 albums that we look at and think those are the 10? Like it just sure, most influential, I guess. Most influential / most important. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're going to have a lot of overlap. So I guess we could go top 10 because we're both going to have a lot of overlap. And then when we get on, we'll just talk about it. And before we get on, I'll shoot you my list, and you can say, okay, this is where we can start talking here, and we'll do the ones we agree on, and then we'll have our different ones, and we'll go back and forth on those.
Wow. Rocket to Russia's on this list, huh? Obviously.
Yep. There's a bunch of shit. Let's not talk about it much right now. I don't want to go too deep into it. Let's do that in 2 weeks. Yeah, hold on. Give me a second. I don't want to go too deep into that right now when we're recording this. But here, I'll tell you what. All right, guys, dude, he's not going to stop. He's not going to shut the fuck up. So we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys in a little while with our top 10 records of 1977. And we're going to keep building this community. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 7,500 already. So that means we're really fucking close to 10K. So I love you guys, and I appreciate everybody's support and time.
Love you guys.
Give Nitty's dog some calm treats, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with some 77 style shit, and then we'll do 82 in another couple of weeks or something. Yeah. All right, guys, we're out here. Peace.